3 o'clock straight up. Good afternoon, everyone, on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q, coming at you right here on Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. And of course, we are part of the Coastal Sports Network. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show, keeping us on the air on this 12th of August, 2024. 2 hours to play with. Hope everyone had a good sports weekend. You're having a better today. As always, 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved in two-way sports talk. Bring something to the table. We are powered by ION TV for all your late-breaking news, weather, traffic alerts, and jams. Check them out online and, of course, on X. And that's where you can watch us, Rich Q on Q, as well as the YouTube channel, respectively. And as we just mentioned, on Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. So hope everyone has been enjoying their weekend. The Olympics are no longer. I don't know why we had to watch the Olympics to know that Steph Curry was an all-time great. I'll get into that a little bit. NFL preseason, some very interesting news and notes coming down in the NFL, but we'll ask the $64,000 question: to sit them or to start them. And then, of course, in baseball, we are coming down the stretch already, midway through the month of August. Pennant race is starting to heat up. I think it's panic time for a couple teams, and some of you fans out there might not like to hear what I have to say in that regard. But I want to start with the NFL. And obviously, news just broke maybe about 15 or 20 minutes ago. Multiple reports that Haason Reddick, who was looking for a new deal with the New York Jets, is already ticked off. And he's like, no. No. I want out. I want to get traded. And there's your drama, right? There's your drama right there. It's a trade request. I mean, the guy hasn't even suited up for the Jets. And I just think it's remarkable that this is where we're at already.
So,
I mean, look, let's be honest. Haason Reddick is a good player. And you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, we always get on the Philadelphia Eagles for moves they make or they don't make. You know, the Reddick move, when it's all said and done, they're going to look like geniuses because you got a guy holding out right now, and you knew they weren't going to pay him. You knew he wasn't worth that type of money because ultimately he's really, I would say, kind of a hybrid when it comes to third down. You're talking about from the defensive side of the football, but it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy that you think you're going to a new team. You want to get paid, you don't get paid, and then you're ticked off, and now you're basically just going to sit, or you're going to demand to get traded. I mean, this is where we're at. I can't think about this. You've got a pass rusher in Haason Reddick. Okay. He's an NFL player that got traded to a new team, and now he's potentially going to get traded again before the season even starts. He's got 1 year left, and the Jets knew that when they acquired him. And Haason Reddick acknowledged that during his press conference. Quote, whatever happens, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to give my all no matter what. That's just who I am as a person. Insert BS. No matter how it goes, how many years, I'm going to be here for however long. I'm here for it. I'm going to give the team and the fans everything that I have. What? And now today on Monday, you want to get traded? You can't write this crap up. I mean, it's bad enough. You got Aaron Rodgers now coming out talking about maybe he shouldn't have made comments that he said. You got Aaron Rodgers trying to rally the troops. Aaron Rodgers that had 4 snaps, a cup of coffee with the New York Jets last year. You got the dysfunction that is from ownership down to the head coach that's freaking clueless. And then you make a move because you think you're going to double up on your defense and wreak havoc on everyone. And boom, where are you at right now? You got a player in Haason Reddick that is just ultimately decided, I don't want to be here anymore. Dude, you haven't even suited up. I mean, and I'm not going to say Antonio Brown because he wound up getting cut. This is a bad look all around. I mean, look, teams aren't just, there's a reason teams aren't trading for a player like Brandon Ayuk, right? Because they want a deal set in stone. And the Jets decided we're going to trade for him. And they thought they put everything, all their eggs in the Haason Reddick basket. And now look. And also Haason Reddick, you knew this too. Again, don't sit there and make those comments when you're full of crap. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing right now. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. I mean, I get it. You got 1 year left on your contract. Go out and ball and you will get paid. But the player, again, I mean, come on, man. You haven't even played a freaking snap and you already requested a trade?
So does this make Salah look worse than saying that he didn't want to start Aaron Rodgers because it was raining outside? He doesn't like his top player to play? Or now
nothing on the coach. This has nothing to do on the coach. This is the GM. This is the ownership group. This is the GM deciding we're going to make a play for this guy, and this is the player. This has nothing to do with the head coach. He gets a pass on this one because at the end of the day, the player said what he said, and now look where we're at.
Okay, because tomorrow morning it's going to be spun completely different on TV, where they're going to be like, "Oh, this is why didn't Salah step in?" And I agree, it is on the GM, it is on the ownership, but you know how it's going to be spun.
You got a player, Angel, that's requesting a friggin' trade 4 months after he was the Jets acquired him. Think about that. He hasn't played a snap. So that, to me, I don't care about the head coach right now. I don't care about the coordinators. I care about the player and the GM. The GM ultimately pulls the strings and says, I'm going to sign off on this deal, whether I'm going to trade the guy, cut the guy, release the guy, make a move for the guy, draft the guy, sign the guy, pay the guy. It's on the GM. And now you've got the player who's basically coming out. I mean, everyone said, deal's going to get done. Deal's going to get done. Deal's going to get done. The Jets are going to take care of the player. The player's going to take care of the franchise. Either owes nothing to each other. They don't. It's not like they drafted this guy, played 10 years. It's just this is where we're at sometimes. It's only the Jets. It's comical. It's comical. When you start to really get into this portion of the show, portion of the programming, right? Portion of the NFL training camp, where you have a franchise that put all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket last year, and it absolutely turned out to be a dumpster fire. 4 friggin' offensive snaps in. And I warned people a year plus ago, don't do it. Don't make the move. Don't make the trade. Don't do the sign. Don't mess with Aaron Rodgers. He's breaking down. He's getting older. So now you think he's back. Here we go. Feel stronger. Went in the tunnel. Got the whale sperm, whatever the hell he's rubbing all over, like Robitussin on his body. You got the defense. You got some players. Boom. This is it. AFC East, the window of opportunity is open. And then you make a move for a player that you believe will contribute on defense. And here we go. Here we go. And I get it. They don't want to pay for a player that's his production is going down, but maybe he wasn't utilized properly at times with the Philadelphia Eagles. Sometimes there's what we like to call a little stat padding. I mean, we've seen that before in the NFL, have we not?
Yeah.
Nick Foles just retired 27-2. I mean, sometimes you just have a good year. And Reddick is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like the defense is going to listen. You brought him in because you wanted some depth. You wanted a player that you can roam around on third down, and you wanted another player that can get to the quarterback in this base 4-3 defense. And that's Haason Reddick. Okay. That's Haason Reddick. And he's put up some monster numbers. You can't dispute that. 12.5 sacks with Arizona in 2020. He had 11 sacks with Carolina, 16 with the friggin' Philadelphia Eagles. Then he backed it up with 11. So, again, you're talking about a defensive end that's starting to come into his own. 28, 29, local product Temple. Here we go. He's going to contribute to the defense. But if he's not going to be utilized, if they don't want to pay for him, then I don't know what the hell did they decide to even make a move and make the trade for him. But the fact that he hasn't even had a snap with this team, and he already demands a trade. He wants a trade. It speaks to the dysfunction of the Jets franchise, and maybe it speaks to this player's really deciding, I don't want to be here. And sometimes you don't have a choice. Some players can't veto trades left and right in the NFL. Ayuk, you heard the report, right? Cleveland was looking at him, and here we go. I don't want to be with Cleveland. So it's just the Jets, man. It's a comical look. It's a bad look. I just can't recall a player that got traded and then 4 months later decides, I want to get traded again. And if you sat there and said, name a franchise that can pull that trifecta, that can pull that trick, it would be the New York Jets. Because everything right now, they sent a conditional 2026 third round pick to the Eagles in exchange for Reddick. Showed up for his physical, showed up at the press conference, and what did he do? He spoke highly of the organization. He spoke highly of the franchise. He let the Jet fan base, the GM, the ownership, and the fans and his teammates believe that he wants to be there. He said all the right things. Here you go. Team guy, going to ball out. He's going to get paid. He's going to get to the quarterback. We're going to win some games. Then, because the NFL is a business, and we all know that, there's no deal that's done. So because no deal's done, what is he going to do? He's taking his ball. He's kicking and screaming in the friggin' sandbox, and now he wants to get traded.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Jets told his agent, yo, man, get your guy going. He's going to report. He's going to play under the current contract. Well, that hasn't happened. They basically let him know. This is reported by Connor Hughes that covers the Jets. They were open to adjusting his current deal, right? Convert non-guaranteed to guaranteed, but only when he showed up. Okay? And that's the big caveat. Only when he showed up. They're not going to commit to him until he committed to them. And I get that. So what they're basically doing, and this has nothing to do with the head coach, this is the franchise saying, we're not going to cater to a player who never played for a down, never played a down for them. And again, I understand. I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. I get it. So now he's let him sit out the entire season. Go ahead. Go ahead. Because you'll be fine for each day and game missed. Okay? And the Jets are going to retain his rights for next year. Go ahead. But it is very Jet-like is kind of my point. It's very Jet-like. You know, we talk about these running backs that want these contracts, right?
Right.
So a lot of times the running back position in the NFL, it's not the position it once was. We all agree. The running back, it's almost like running back by committee. The days of 350 plus carries, it's very rare in the NFL. We're not going to run you into the ground. You know, you look at some of these great backs over the years that had big seasons where they were plus 350s, you know, and these are not Hall of Fame backs, but you can make a case. Maybe some are, one or two. Eddie George, let's run you into the ground. Chris Johnson, let's run you into the ground. Larry Johnson, let's run you into the ground. Sean Alexander, let's run you into the ground, right? After that 330, 340, 350 carry campaign, the production drops. So what happens? We're not going to pay you. We're going to jettison you. Okay, fine. So now we're at the point with the running backs where we look at that position, we devalue the running back position. And we hear talk of players wanting to sit out, running backs that want to sit out. Le'Veon Bell, if you gave Le'Veon Bell truth serum, Le'Veon Bell would tell you the worst thing I did in my career was sit out. Like it's almost, you ill-advise a player to sit out. You don't want to miss a year of football. You don't want a year shaved off your career. Quarterbacks, running back, defensive end, you just don't want to do that. It's bad business. It's bad advice. And again, you look at a back like Le'Veon Bell, he never was the same back he once was after he held out. So if someone's telling Haason Reddick right now, sit out, hold out, I think that's bad advice. I think it's bad advice, and I understand there's apples and oranges. Le'Veon Bell had 1,200, almost 1,300 yards in 2012. He sat out 2018. He came back in 2019. He was a shell of himself, and then he bounced around for a bunch of different teams, and he never was the same back. You're talking about a back that had 3 out of 5 1,000-yard campaigns. So I get it. You know, what the GM said, what the player says. And again, I want to hear from you guys, 727-858-6650. But again, you know, when you have the GMs come out and saying, hey, man, we expect you to be here. And then you come out and say what you said at your introductory press conference. And then it's leaked out that you want to trade. You knew full well the contract deals. You knew full well the deal you were playing under. That always gets lost in the sauce. Players, it's almost as though it's like a buyer beware from the player standpoint. The player turns around now all of a sudden, right? It just almost reminds me of I think I've used this analogy before on the air. You had that friend of yours growing up, and then you got the bicycle, and then your friend got a bicycle, but he realized you got the better bike, and all of a sudden he's bitching and complaining to his parents, right? He's never satisfied, he's never happy. It works both ways in this regard. The franchise should do right by the player if the player put in the time and the equity and had the friggin' snaps, and the player should be right by the franchise. Well, in this instance, Hassan Reddick just got traded to the Jets. He hasn't even suited up. But ultimately, you understand your contract, you understand the details, you understand the stipulations, you understand the fine friggin' print. So now all of a sudden you're going to come hemming and hawing because you want a new deal. And the Jets also knew the deal with this player. Hence, it's very Jet-like. I can't recall a time, Carson Palmer just didn't want to play. And he decided, I'm going to be a little girl and I'm going to be a baby and kick and scream. And I'm not going to pick up a football anymore. I'm going to force my way out. This, a player gets traded and then he's going to get probably traded again before the season even starts. So again, he has 1 year left. The Jets knew this when they acquired him. And again, the player knew this at the press conference. So I don't know who's to blame here.
So here's a question for you then, Q. For whomever, first of all, I think someone would have to be at this point pretty much desperate for his services. And I don't mean that in a bad way either, but someone, because if he's looking for a trade, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, you want me to come? Let's just say the Browns hypothetically decide to say, all right, we'll take a look.
Well, they're not going to even do that. I don't want to cut you off. They're not going to do that. Joe Douglas, there's a statement from the Jets a couple minutes ago. Quote, we have formed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he's expected to be here with his teammates, and that he will continue to be fined per the CBA if he does not report. Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Our focus will remain on the guys we have here as we prepare for the regular season. That's from Joe Douglas with a little sauce, a little chops, a little onions right there. It's telling the player, shut up and get your ass in camp. It's exactly what, and we'll deal with the contract when it's time to deal with it. And you know what? Good for friggin' Joe Douglas. Good for Joe Douglas. See, requesting a trade, that makes for what we do exciting. We got something to talk. Here we go. It's a topic. Boom, boom. Hot sauce, hot mitt, hot gloves, whatever. Hot takes. But a player is foolish if they're going to sit out and lose that kind of money.
Correct.
And a year of their career. But it is very Jet-like because now you've got the stuff with Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers comes out and, oh man, I regret saying I was immunized and, this and that and COVID-19 and whale sperm and smoking and joking and hiding out and going to the tunnel, going to the abyss and seeing my life unfold. And here we go, going through 13 different lives. And I used to be a caterpillar in this life and a swan in this life and all that other bullshit that comes out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth. I'm so friggin' over Aaron Rodgers. I don't even, it's so funny too. When we talk about all these great quarterbacks in the NFL and these top tier quarterbacks, I feel as though, why are we even talking Aaron Rodgers? But the point being is, I believe the AFC East, and I've said this many times on the air, is going to be one of the most must-watch, compelling divisions in football because the Patriots are going to be bad. And I know people are going to come and say their defense is not that bad. They're not going to be a good football team. They're rebuilding after 20 plus years of dominance. The Jets, as we see, are a friggin' freak show. They're a circus show. Line up, stamp the ticket, come see the bearded lady. Here we go. We're good to go. Buffalo, I believe there's something fundamentally wrong with the Buffalo franchise. I can't quite just put the little Q-tip, the Q finger on it, but there's something wrong there. And then you got Miami. And you got the Fish, and you got Tua breaking the bank, showing the money signs, and people still want to crap on this kid. It's a compelling, and you also have head coaches, okay,
Right.
head coaches. Jovan, Pats are going to be competitive. Bad football team. Just had to mention that again. Thank you, Jovan. I appreciate that. Competitive bet. Jovan's probably already did some future prop bets with the New England Pats in their win total over under, which, by the way, if you played the unders during week 1 of the preseason, very profitable. We told you that last week. Get in on some of the unders, but it's going to be compelling division. You know, our listening audience down there in Florida, I think Miami is an extremely talented team. I think they got wall-to-wall weapons. Obviously, you want to see the maturation process, right, of Tua. You want to see them run the football with efficiency. They've added weapons. We know about their skill players. We talked a little bit about their defense. They don't have to. They shouldn't. They don't want to go on the road in a hostile environment come the playoff time. That division, I believe, is right there. Now, the odds makers might tell you a little different because you got 3 teams you can make a case for in that division, right? But I look at the Jets, and with Buffalo plus 125, Miami plus 200, the Jets plus 300, New England sitting Jovan at plus 2,000. So go ahead, waste $20 right there. I just think it's going to be a very compelling and fun division to watch. And now you got the headache where you brought in a player in Haason Reddick. That's a Pro Bowl type of player, an all-pro on the defensive side of the football as an upgrade. And you have to have the GM come out before we're even in week 2 of the NFL preseason. Mind you, just 3 preseason games. And he's basically saying, no. We're not going to grant your wish. Shut up, show up, and play. All right, 22 past the 3 o'clock hour. Just cranking it up on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air, powered by SR 1029 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, Coastal Sports Network, and ION TV for all your late-breaking news, weather, traffic alerts. Do not forget to check out, we rebranded as well, added some great content on SR 1029, thegame.com. Download the app. He is waiting to say something. I see it. I know the facial expression. No, he's shaking me off. He's calling audible at the line of scrimmage. He does not want me to serve him the fastball, does Angel Martinez. So a lot more NFL. I want to get in on the other side to sit or to start. And I don't know how many of you guys watched the preseason games over the weekend. The friggin' new kickoff rule. I'm over it already, man. It's absolutely, it's driving me batty. It's almost like you got to split the atom to try to figure out what the hell's going on with this new kickoff rule. And a couple teams already. Week 1 of the NFL preseason. A couple teams already have some issues with some injuries. We'll get on it on the other side as well. All right. Don't forget 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved. Crank it up. 23 past 3 o'clock hour. We'll take you up to 5 on a Monday.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
ION Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, IONTB.com. ION Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, The Game, powered by ION Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
So, you know how I get. If we were coming back dry, it would have been an issue. Hence me telling you, seeing something at the line of scrimmage I didn't like, the audible, get the bumper in there, 727-858-6650. You almost heard me. It's almost like a very disheveled kind of, oh.
Terry, I thought maybe Kiki walked into the studio. I'm like, oh, here she comes.
New kickoff rule. Bad. I'll get to your Hassan Reddick thoughts. I don't like it. I'm confused by it. I had to write everything down, and I'm not the only one, by the way. Did you watch the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah.
Preseason game, which they got some injuries as well. But in the Chiefs game against Jacksonville, there was a misplay off the kickoff. By the way, they lost Marquise Brown. He's going to miss some time after dislocating his clavicle in that 26-13 loss to Jacksonville. But then there was a play with Hardman, who always seems to have like a muff or a blunder or a mental lapse. The ball scooted in the end zone, came back out. Then he, picked it up. He knelt down. It was his safety. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say, okay, that has to do with the rule itself, but I don't like the rule. I'm more traditional. I understand what the NFL is trying to do, and they want to limit the point of impact. I get it. But again, I'm not a fan. I think we're constantly reinventing the wheel. I like kickoffs. I like, having to kick the ball off and seeing if the guy has an opportunity to return it, or if there's going to be a muff or, a big return to get you in the field goal range, or an opportunity to take it back to the house. Kick it between here, squib it here, get it out at 20, back to the 40. Now, I brought this up. I'm going to confuse the hell. Jovan chimes in. All people need to do is watch XFL highlights. Give it some time when teams put the top return back. Then it'll work. I'm back in this fight. Ooh, look at that. He's going to my other pod, Back Your Play. Appreciate that. Oh, look at that. Getting a little dicey on a Monday. I'm not a fan of it. Now, here's a thought. This is when I totally confused the hell out of the audience, because I text my buddies this and they're like, what the frig are you talking about? Do you believe with this new kickoff rule, depending upon the situation, or I should say, let's back up. Let's say this is a 13-12 type of game, or it's in the third quarter, maybe the fourth, and you realize that possessions might be scarce. And you punch it in. You get a touchdown. I'm wondering if teams are more inclined to go for two, because maybe they haven't had success with their kickoff team on the ensuing kickoff, placing the ball, where it needs to be placed to not allow the opposing team to start at the 40, right? Shortened field, right? So you're giving up the field. I think everything will play, every decision will be played upon, if that makes sense. Like the coaches now, they have to figure out, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you guys believe that because of these changes, and I'm asking you to basically come up with some scenario in your head, right? And I get why they did it. You had lowest kickoff return rate. You had the unacceptable injury rate on kickoffs prior to that. I understand. I'm wondering, though, with this dynamic kickoff, if coaches now are more inclined where, let me try to get an extra point, right? Let me try to shorten up the game a little bit. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I think everything will factor in the decision-making, but I'm asking you to think of me scoring a touchdown, going for 2, because maybe I don't have confidence that my kicker can place it where it needs to be placed, and I'm not giving up another 5-10 yards. I'm just throwing it out there. You might be listening and tuning in right now saying, what the hell is Rich talking about on a Monday at 3:31? And I applaud you for that. But I'm asking you, do you think these new rules will really test to coaches as they coach during the game now, right? Just knowing that if they have a blunder, if they have a mess up, the yardage that they're potentially giving up, right? So the ball kicked from the 35, same as the current rule. I'm trying to pull up here. Receiving team will line up as follows. Landing zone. Thank you. You guys just tweeted that at me. The landing zone, that's the area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone, treat it like a kickoff out of bounds, and the ball spotted at the 40. So it's already going to be spotted at the 40. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned. So that's another thing. It's just, I feel like I have to.
Well, no, what was the other, and maybe Javon can chime in on this one as well. It was the
kick that goes in the back of the end zone in the air, a bounce, touch back to the 30. Kick in the end zone, stays in bounds, return or down, touch back to the 30.
Do they have one in there about a safety?
Safety kick. The kick will be from the 20-yard line. The kicker will have the option to use a T. Oh, no, that's right. The setup zone and the landing zone will not change. Onside kick, fourth quarter begins. The team trailing has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the officials. Current onside kick rules would apply if the onside kick goes beyond the setup zone, untouched kicking team and penalized for UNS. Return team would start the drive at the 20-yard line. It's making my head leak.
No, I didn't. Other than that, but there was the one. So the KC Jaguars game, there was something. I came in going to the restroom, coming back, but it was
Hardman.
The kick that went into the end zone.
Yep, that was Hardman. Correct. Yep. Yeah. So they I pulled it up. It went in the end zone, came back out, tried to down a kickoff that bounced in and out of the end zone. They huddled around, they checked the replay, they ruled it a safety.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still scratching my head. It's Monday.
So again, but think, with the new kickoff rule, the ball's what? The ball's always live, even when it hits in the end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Giants have had horrible special teams for the last 20 years, so expect a lot of nonsense to happen week 1 against Minnesota with these rules in place. Did you see also, we talked about, these quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, and I feel as though, well, let me get into this first, because I did promise you guys, I did tease this, and I know you're a very big proponent of this. I want to hear what everyone else thinks out there. 727-858-6650. So Nick Sirianni, Eagles head coach, basically hinted that the starters would get a couple series in against Baltimore. They didn't. Just another reason I think preseason is just ugh. But I understand 3 games. Now we're going to go to probably 18 regular season games. I had this conversation earlier today. I'll drop a new edition of BYP2. Had it with Lloyd Vance. And we were talking about how much stock we put into really having the offense get in a series or 2. And who does it really benefit? Is it more or less for some of the backups, guys who does it really benefit going forward, right? Because you know what you should expect from the offenses. Preseason should also benefit the guys that are trying to find jobs coming off injuries, you know, maybe quarterback position battles, trying to make an impact. So you want those guys to get the reps. Young quarterbacks, right, who struggled. You know, we saw Daniels, we saw McCarthy, we saw Fields, we saw Lance. I'll get into that in a moment. But as far as established teams, do you think it'll hurt teams like Kansas City that decide we're going to start resting guys, or Cleveland that had 5 guys get injured, right? Or the Eagles that many believe will be a very good offensive team. You know, Detroit, many believe will be a very good offensive team. That's kind of like, where are you where to sit them or start them when it comes to the preseason? I believe that you can get injured on any play.
Correct.
I also believe that sometimes coaching and decision-making can ruin careers, i.e. watching, which I was there, Jason Sehorn running back a kickoff, Giants and the Jets, and Sehorn tearing up his knee and was never the same corner. That was just stupid decision-making at the time. But I think if you're the Eagles and you've had all this drama, according to some, the disconnect between the coordinators, the franchise quarterback, the head coach, the franchise quarterback, then I think it would behoove them and be advantageous for Jalen Hurts and the first team offense to be out there for a series or two. Now, I don't know how much you're going to get out of that, but I think what happens is when the season starts, defenses are always ahead of the offenses. And if the offense struggles, I know you will revert and say, well, this is why they should have got a series or 2 or 3. So again, how important in your estimation is it when we talk about the NFL preseason? Is it more or less for players to show me something we don't know they can do? Or is it more or less for the starters to just get in a rhythm before the season starts?
No, for me, it's always been about the starters getting that rhythm because we've seen it the last 2 seasons with the Eagles. Granted, again, different start the season prior, even the one before that. But anybody can get injured. We've seen guys who've walked out the tunnel and have gotten injured. So the injuries can happen regardless. Even you can try and baby and pamper and, oh, my guy's not going to play because it's raining outside. He doesn't like to play with the other kids when it's raining. My thing is put the guys in so they can get the reps in so we can see what this starting lineup is going to look like. Regardless of DraftKings and betting and all that fun stuff, I want to see what the guys look like. Are they going to gel? How much of adjustment do we need? I don't care if it's 3 plays. You bring them in 3 plays, take them out, whatever. For the rest of the game, that's fine. Game 2, maybe put them in a little bit longer, maybe for, I don't know, half of the first quarter, depending on how long they get the ball back, and then take it from there. But to not bring guys in, and who was it? One of the so-called starters for a team over the weekend that should be getting some time in, got no time in because they're trying to save them for the regular season. Like, what are you guys thinking? If you got a rookie quarterback, put him in. There's a reason why he's a rookie quarterback.
Well, you're only going to get a series. You're right. You're only going to get a series or 2, right? We saw that. Right. McCarthy struggled, had a couple picks. Daniels was in there for a little bit of a cup of coffee. Caleb Williams, we saw that as well. A player like Trey Lance, I'm watching the broadcast yesterday of the, what was it? It was Dallas and the Rams, pardon me. And Trey Lance obviously jettisoned from the 49ers, now with Dallas as a backup. And they made a point. First of all, everyone thought that Tom Brady was calling the game. He's not calling the game for the NFL Network, but I believe it was Andrew Siciliano, Mina Kimes, and I think Andrew Wentworth, the longtime Cincinnati offensive lineman. They were calling the game. So I was jotting down some notes and I was watching the game, and there was a 4th down play, goal line situation with Trey Lance. And Trey Lance rolled out and he threw the ball away. And I think one of the announcers, it might have been Mika Kimes, turned around, well, why didn't they run it? And that's exactly kind of the crux of the conversation right now, because we know they can run it. Mm-hmm. I want to see what a backup quarterback who's fighting for his career and a job, let me see what you can do on a 4th down play, because ultimately you might be inserted if Dak Prescott goes down. I don't need to see you run the football in the preseason. I want to see. Now, you're not going to open up the playbook, but point being, I believe the preseason is designed for some of these players to show their teammates and coaches, I can do something you thought I couldn't do.
Correct.
If that makes sense. But I also, to your point, I believe you do have to put stock in the preseason. I don't know if a series gives you enough, but back in the day, remember the preseason was 5 games, 6 games, right? Let me get you out there for an entire half.
Yep.
And they were competitive. preseason games. But now with the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, now with the season being 17 games, preseason just 3, they'll cut it to 2. They'll make the regular season 18 games. Why? Players will want more money. The league will make more money. I still believe it's important. But I also, in my gut, I think there are some teams out there that after a week or 2 or 3, I don't have to worry about them. Now, I'm not saying it's the Eagles. They just happen to be in our backyard per se. We know about the disconnect between the head coach and the franchise quarterback. I would like to see Jalen Hurts and the offense get some snaps. I'm not saying open up the playbook, but I would like to see them get some snaps. I don't know what you made of some of these other rookie quarterbacks playing over the weekend. They're going to get some snaps. We saw it with Bo Nix got some time with Denver. Strong arm quarterback. We saw McCarthy out there. We saw the kid from Washington, Daniels, out there, and I think he's going to be a hell of a quarterback. I'm already looking at this kid for Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL. I think he's going to put up some decent numbers. So he was impressive in his only drive, right? Everything's going to come down to what you're able to do on Sunday in September. But I do believe that the preseason is meant for some of those certain players that I mentioned, Angel, but also for some of these rookie quarterbacks and guys fighting for a job. Like if you're Justin Fields and you know that Russell Wilson has a calf injury and he's getting older, it's becoming more and more clear. And I listened to a beat reporter the other day on National talk about Mike Tomlin discussing the depth chart. And he already came out and said, you already see who's on the depth chart. Russell Wilson is quarterback number 1. I'm telling you right now, maybe I'll hedge a little. And maybe I'll walk back when I said Justin Fields is bang on the table, going to be the week 1 starter. Justin Fields is going to start for Pittsburgh sooner rather than later. So if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you've got a future Hall of Fame quarterback who's a veteran that's banged up right now in Russell Wilson. You've got a young quarterback that people are wondering, can he play? Can he be a serviceable option going forward? So when you watch Pittsburgh, those are meaningful snaps for Fields. I mean, there's no other way to dissect it. You want to see what the kid can do. And he was out there, I think it was 5 of 6 for 67 yards. The kid Kyle Allen was 17 of 23 for like 200 yards. But you want to see what the quarterback can do. Are we going to sit there and say, let me see more Pickett over Jalen Hurts? No, because we already believe that the Eagles have their franchise quarterback in Jalen Hurts. But I still maintain I would like to see the offense out there. And unfortunately, as you alluded to, you can get injured in OTAs, off-season workouts. You can get injured preseason. You can get injured the first snap. If you're Aaron Rodgers, 4 offensive snaps in, and his season ends. So I just think people look at how the offense has been slow out of the gate for Philadelphia over the last couple of years, and they're saying, hey, man, these reps, they're meaningful.
Yeah, well, 2 things is one, I would like to know what was Tom Brady's whole role, but we'll get to that in a second.
Well, he wasn't, he was supposed to, apparently there was this report he was going to call the game, but that was an NFL Network game, not a Fox game. So they gave the perception that he's calling the game. So, but,
all right. Well,
that kind of answers that.
Yeah. But my thing, even like there are some guys that wait until like for example, the mini OTAs, voluntary OTAs, they decide they want to work out only for those 3 and 4 days. Then they don't do it again. They meet back up in May before they get ready to go to training camp. Now I understand like when the season's over, yes, you have to give the body a break because you've been battered and bruised now since basically July all the way through to December, January, if you're lucky, if you're a playoff team. And now if you're going to the bowl, then it's a whole different story. Then you're going all the way up to February. So I get it, taking that month and a half off, recondition your body, get back into a rhythm, take some downtime. But when especially if you already knew you were out of the season come November, you come February, January, take that month off, whatever, enjoy the Super Bowl, start getting back into a workout regimen. But a lot of these guys, I don't understand why they wait until camp starts coming around. And then the biggest thing, the biggest injuries that everybody tends to forget is because they don't remain hydrated during the offseason. That's one of those big things. You play here in Florida, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami. You already know that is the biggest killer on the field because they keep telling you to stay hydrated. That's almost like every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Let me get to some Facebook real quick before we hit a break. I got Joe D. Summers Point chimes in. Q, excellent thoughts on the running back position, especially when you take time away. Go back and look at Le'Veon Bell's stats. Look at some other running backs that have held out even for a half a season or 4 or 5 games. Their numbers have dropped. Yeah. So don't, and appreciate it, Joe. Don't confuse the two. So if you look at backs that have had monster seasons, like I'll pull up a perfect example, Larry Johnson, who was an absolute beast coming out of Penn State, right? Had a really nice career for Kansas City. Larry Johnson, the year that he rushed for 1769, he carried the ball 416 times. Now, I'll throw it out there. I'll ask you guys, I'll ask Angel, 727-858-6650. Now, follow along with me. Larry Johnson, don't cheat, don't look it up, carried the ball 416 times in 2006. How many carries do you think he had in 2007?
Okay, what was the first one?
Yep, you got to pay attention the first time. You will be tested. Larry Johnson carried the ball 416 times in 2006. 1,700 yards. He was a friggin' beast. How many carries did he have in 2007?
Half.
158, and he only played in 8 games. Point being is when these backs have career years,
right?
When they're running to the ground, chances are they're never going to be the same back. So now you decide to sit out a season, you're never getting that back, right? Someone's going to sit there and say Le'Veon Bell was well rested. Yeah, but you're also rusty, right? There's a difference running and doing work and lifting weights than contact on the field on a Sunday. That's why the backs are treated the way they're treated. That's why I just think it's a poor decision to sit out. Now you go to Hassan Reddick, he's not sitting out. He's not. I have to pull up his contract. He's not giving up that money for what? It's not happening. I mean, I'll go to Spotted Track. Always gives some really good. So he signed a 3-year, $45 million contract with the Eagles back in 2022. Okay, so let me go to his deal right now. So, I got to pull up the update, which I'll do that on the other side. Point being is he's not giving up that money.
So all right, let's think about this now. In our modern era, who is our longest tenured back? Was it, why am I drawing a blank?
What do you mean longest tenured? Like the back that's played the most for one team in the NFL?
That, and obviously for the length of time as a running back. Is that our boy who retired? Just walked away from the game, Barry Sanders?
Oh, you're saying with one team?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Barry Sanders, no. I mean, let's do it like this. Because Derrick Henry played what? 10 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 years with Tennessee. Are you saying that they retired early? Like, I'm not sure I understand.
No, because right now, like we see, minus Derrick Henry, we see running backs have a very, very short shelf life anymore.
Correct. You're saying with one team?
Yes.
I mean,
you
could have said Elliott, but he went with New England for a friggin' season,
right?
And now he's back with Dallas.
Yeah, whatever. He's not gonna do anything.
No. I'm not saying he is, but you're asking me. I'm trying to give you a where the hell is Elliott? I don't even think, did he have any friggin' touches? He's like on the depth chart. I mean, I don't even see him on here. Hold on. Ezekiel Elliott. He's with the Cowboys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? Derrick Henry, Kamara, Cook. I mean, these guys, Saquon, 4 or 5 years, boom, with the Philadelphia Eagles. If your point is these guys don't play for just one team, then that totally makes sense. I mean, if you go back to, say, like the all-time rushing leaders, and if you pull up all these guys, Emmitt Smith played for 2 teams. Walter Payton played for 1. Frank Gore, I think, played for 4 teams, 5 teams. Barry Sanders played for 1. Adrian Peterson, Curtis Martin, LaDainian Tomlinson, Jerome Bettis, Eric Dickerson, Tony Dorsett, they all played for multiple teams. So the era of, hey, you got a back for 10 plus years, one team. Tiki Barber played his entire career with the Giants. I argue Tiki Barber should be in the Hall of Fame. Tiki Barber was a punt returner, a third down back when he started his career. Tiki Barber retired when he was 30, 31. He had 1,600 yards, but he played a decade with the Giants, maybe 11 years. Yeah, it's nobody that position. You don't need stud running backs. You don't need stud wide receivers to win in the Super Bowl anymore. You don't.
You didn't hear that what they do.
You don't. You can have a running back by committee. Philadelphia Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl, had a running back by committee. Can you remember the running backs that were on that squad?
With the Eagles? 3?
Yep. Pontificate.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Who's my boy that came from the Patriots and then winning the year before and then winning with the Eagles? Hang on. Trying to blank.
He had a good right hand. He had a good punch.
Yeah, but he sure did. It was him.
Yep.
Jesus. Hold on. Brain fart. Give me it. Damn it.
Javon. A free agent right in my backyard.
Well, Javon got it as I was thinking about. He said Ajayi, which I was thinking of, Corey Clement and LeGarrette Blount, which is obviously a former Patriot.
Correct.
Yep.
Now, Corey Clement's not in the NFL. None of these guys are in the NFL anymore. But point being is, you didn't need. If you go back and you look at that 2017 Eagles season, that roster, if you go back and you really pay attention, that was your classic running back by committee. LeGarrette Blount probably had 600 yards. Corey Clement probably had 300 plus. Jay Ajayi probably had maybe 500 yards. There wasn't a back that was running for over 1,000 yards. You don't need that anymore. That's why the position, you're not getting paid. You're just not getting paid anymore.
Right, and hence why.
Yeah, it's a bad job if you're back and you're disgruntled and you want to sit out a season.
Yeah, that's short shelf life because you don't bring any more. That's why the Eagles for the most part. Now every year you take a look at it, they're almost looking for new ones every single season for that same reason. You just don't need it. No, Elliot, good luck to him. That was a disaster anyways. I'm so happy where certain things just work a certain way, but
I don't even know. They underutilized DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that with Saquon Barkley. I think you're at the point where you feel as if the window is right there to compete and you have a back like Saquon Barkley. Now, again, I hedge it by saying when he is healthy, but I watched enough of Saquon that he can't stay healthy. And he comes out on third down, and he's had to fix his blocking assignments, his picking up the blitz. And again, you look at Saquon. I go back to the numbers: 295 carries in 2022, 16 games. Comes back 2023, 247 carries, 962 yards, 3.9 yards a carry. Down from 4.4. So I think they're going to squeeze as much out of him as they can, 18 to 20 plus touches a game to really spread the ball around, get RPO, get guys in motion. The offense should be able to take off. They got a tight end that I also believe has been underutilized, and Dallas Goedert, about the offensive weapons. I think one of the keys for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't hear a lot of people discussing this, is the loss of Jason Kelce.
Yep.
I think it's huge.
Yep. It's going to be tremendous. Especially with a tush push. That's going to be tremendous this season. But yeah, they're not talking about it because they're more, I saw, and it was almost ad nauseum, and rare that I say that against, my own friend, fellow Philadelphia Eagles, but there was enough of the Nick Foles thing that we don't. I understand he retired. God bless. He's got a statue in Philly. Will always be indoctrinated by Philly. I get it. I was up to my eyeballs in a tidal wave of Nick Foles. You want to do Philly, Philly? All weekend long. I get it. Trust me, I'm wearing the freaking shirt. I got the hardware. You name it. The helmet's right behind me. But goodness gracious, man. It was like, we get it. We understand it. He's retiring.
He had a great run, but he stunk as a quarterback. I'm sorry. He had a great run when he had to have a great run. And I can never and would never take that away from Nick Foles. He stepped in. Carson Wentz goes down against the Rams, and Foles lights it up in the NFC Championship, outduels Brady, throwing dimes all over the friggin' place. Everyone fell in love with Foles with 27-2 in 2013, right? Other than that, he's been a journeyman quarterback, but he stepped up and he made plays and he outdueled the GOAT on the biggest stage. So
he was Corey Detmer 2.0.
He's what?
Corey Detmer 2.0.
No, I mean, the guy won a Super Bowl.
I know. I'm not saying it. Right.
Maybe he's like Jeff Hostetler somewhat.
Okay. All right.
Coy Detmer. Was Coy Detmer the quarterback that started flopping around like a fish when he broke his arm on Monday Night Football?
Leave him alone.
Was that Coy or was that Ty Detmer? Was it Coy?
No, Ty Detmer.
No, we might have to fact check me on that. I remember that was either the 49ers game and he was just like flipping pitches. All right, fast approaching 4:00. Take a quick time out. We'll reset the tape. That was on the other day, by the way.
Was it?
Congrats. You passed. Now put the gun away. You scored. You're scaring my girl. Walk your baby nuts across the street. Pelican Bay. All right, 4:00, 16 books. We'll come back. By the way, suspension of baseball, we'll get into that. I don't know how many people needed to watch the Olympics to know that Steph Curry is an all-time great, and stop the nonsense that LeBron now is better than Michael Jordan. We'll get into that as well. 60 to play with. Keep it locked in. We'll take you up to 5 on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q right here on SR 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
All right, 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast, 60 to play with, 60 in the books on this Monday edition of The Drive. Rich Canuna is here. Angel Martinez behind the glass, producing show, keeping us on the air. I have a feeling in order for me to see his incredible shrinking head, I'm going to have to reload. Is that possible? No? Yep. I don't hear him. Here we go. Here we go. We are reloading at 4 o'clock. Wait for it. Wait. Don't even try to talk. Just save it. Save the drama for your mama. Just hang tight.
Oh, boy. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, you can watch the show live, as always, on SR1029thegame.com. You can download the all-new digital sports app at SR1029thegame.com. And then Rich will be back in about 3, 2, 1 as he pops magically back into the room. And there he is. Just like that.
Just like that. I pulled up, Bob in Philly shot me a DM on, actually, Bobby D on, in Philly on Hassan Reddick's contract. So sent me the link that they restructured it. If you remember, they restructured a contract. So he was given permission to seek ahead trade, Okay. Owed $21.8 million, 2024, part of a 3-year, $45 million deal he signed prior to 2022. Wanted the pay raise, yada, yada, yada. They turned around. Obviously, they signed Huff 3-year, $51 million deal. So, yeah, he's going to show up and he's going to play. That's the bottom line. Did you see 727-858-6650? The suspension that was handed down in baseball by the this just came down, the Boston Red Sox. So the Boston Red Sox and Major League Baseball have suspended outfielder, very good player, Jarren Duran, for 2 games after he uttered an anti-gay slur at a fan during the team's loss Sunday to the Houston Astros. His suspension is going to begin today, will not be available for their game against the Texas Rangers. Red Sox also announced that Duran's salary from the suspension will be donated to PFLAG, formerly called the Federation of Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, in the 6th inning of Boston's game Sunday at Fenway Park. Duran turned around in the middle of an at-bat and said to a heckler, shut up, you effing F. So you can fill in the blanks. And
friendly fan.
No, you can. So, I mean, he's having a monster season, this kid. I mean, he's having a breakout season. And I see a lot of reaction on social media with this, that, okay, you know, it's okay to say, you know, F this or F that, or, you know, mother effer, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I don't know. You know, you hear worse on a football field. You hear worse on a basketball court. If that's the case, and I don't condone it. I don't. I don't. That's number one. I don't condone it. But I understand we also live in a very politically correct society. This is not 20, 30 years ago where you just spread out. But the reality is this. In a huddle, in the trenches, on a court, worse is said. And I know it's offensive. I get it. But I feel as though now we have to monitor, right, the heat of the moment. You know, a fan's heckling you, you're making millions. People will sit there and say, you got to shut up and take it. Listen, players have barked at fans before, as long as it's never really a physical altercation. I mean, look what happened in the Olympics, right? That we're seeing with those fans getting in, who was it? Was it Steph Curry's wife's, you know, invading that space? I don't want to be inaccurate on that, right? There was an issue with that, and Draymond Green stepped in. They had an intense confrontation. That's different, man. You're starting to step to me and my family, or you're showing that you're physically invading my space or not understanding that. I don't know. Everyone's going to sit there and say, you're going to see all the talking heads now sit there. Was it too long? Is it just right? Do we have to? All I'm saying is the heat of the moment, players say worse.
They have.
About wives, sisters, mothers.
In the locker room especially.
Well, I mean, I've been in enough locker rooms to hear exactly what's said, right? And you're talking teammates go at it with each other at times. But
so when you come up to bat now, here's one of those things. You have to come up and say, okay, here we are, a beautiful night at Citizens Bank Park. Sold out crowd, 45,200 attendants here. Winds going from left to right here. You can see the flags blowing out in center field. Coming up to bat here, he's making his major league debut, coming from the minor leagues. We understand he comes with a little bit of baggage, but here he is, first base. And, he's up to swing and a miss there. What the hell was that all about? That's just in case he wants to say something in reference for the future.
I don't know, man, because we hear it. Like I said, we know what the players say, right? And I'm not going to sit here. I'm not getting mad that this guy's getting punished. I'm just saying that,
No, but you do. And everybody knows this. And I don't care where you are in society, anywhere. And I don't condone anybody's behavior either. But my thing is, there's times where you blurt something out. It's like, okay, there.
Okay, do you deem that? Let me ask you a question. Now we're taking it down a rabbit's hole, and I don't have a problem doing it, but I'm just curious. In a heated moment, you turn around and you spurt something out. We've said it to our friends. We've said even things worth. Do you deem that hate speech?
No.
Because now people are basically saying because he uttered an anti-gay slur at a fan.
No. It's not hate speech because you said something. It's different. If you're approaching someone and now you're face to face and whatever, let's say you bump shoulders. How many times have we not done that in the city somewhere? Bump shoulders, you all look at each other. Either someone says, sorry, man, my bad. All right, that's cool, man. But if you, deliberately hit somebody and then you're confrontational. And
you're talking physical now. You're talking physical. I'm at bat.
Hold on. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not. I'm just saying if you bump somebody, but then they get so upset, they want to be confrontational. And I'm not even talking about you're not even touching each other. Again, you were just, everybody's close on the sidewalk. Boom, instead of the person, you apologize, and now the person wants to take a confrontation with you without hitting you, without, other than the rubbing their shoulders. But if you want to stand there now and go toe to toe, word for word, then that's a whole different story. But in a heat of a moment, when you're saying something, how many times have we not worked on a car and God forbid the screwdriver slips out, pinches the shit out of your hand, and all of a sudden you're like, F this, whatever, blah, blah, whatever comes out your mouth. Is your neighbor from a mile away going to come, I got bionic ears.
Well, here's the difference. You're sitting there saying, mother effer, as opposed to saying, shut up. The neighbor says something, you say, shut up, you blank, blank, right? We are in a very politically correct society where everything is monitored, everything is recorded, everything is not even glossed over. It's not glossed over anymore. Everything is taken where even right now, right? You have to be careful how something is said, how it's presented. You have to think before you speak. All I'm saying is I understand that it is it's not the nicest term, right? But I also know, let's be honest, you're growing up and you're playing ball on the street. We've said worse.
Sure have.
We've said worse. And that sometimes has caused fisticuffs and fights. Have you ever sat, if you've ever sat courtside or close to it during an NBA game, you'd be like, what? You want to go home and take 4 showers. It's just I've even just covering these games, like as you mentioned, the locker room or at batting practice or, running reps or stuff that's heard prior to. Hell, you go to semi-pro games and you can hear, right? And again, it is an offensive word. 100%. It's offensive. It offends. there are certain words, and we can dispute them. And he, again, you have to come out. You got to rectify it. Here you go. Remember too, in 2012, wasn't it? Escobar. I think he had he received a 3-game suspension because he had eye black stickers with anti-gay slur in Spanish. Right? I mean, what do you think? People aren't going to be able to decipher. Point being is, we know we live in a very sensitive, at times soft society. And when you've got a marquee player on a marquee team in baseball who's a budding star and it's caught on the mic and you can hear it and you can say it, definitely Major League Baseball is going to come down. But all I'm saying is, and again, punished, people are like suspending the rest of the season. That's utterly ridiculous. You're not kicking him out of baseball. He said something. It was stupid. It was insensitive. He's going to serve a suspension. All I'm saying is that we've heard athletes say a lot worse, and they haven't gotten punished. They haven't gotten suspended.
Correct.
I'm not, again, please don't sit there and you're talking out of both sides. No, I'm just telling you what's factual. Go to an NBA game. Sit close enough where you can hear the trash talking and the stuff that you would be like, are they talking about mothers, wives, sisters? The stuff that's coming out of their mouth, you'd be like, it's worse than maybe even the hardest of hardcore back in the day rap albums, rap songs that you're listening to. I'm sure the talking heads will have fun with this one. Is it too long? Is it too short? Was it just right? What does baseball need to do? How do we educate?
Yep.
She's just turned around and we've all said stuff growing up or playing on the blacktop or playing sports. We ran our mouths. That's low bearing fruit. And then sometimes it turns into a fight. Sometimes it doesn't turn into a fight. But 727-858-6650. By the way, speaking of baseball, there are a couple teams right now that I would deem in panic mode.
Okay.
The Mets just got swept. Their offense is inept against Seattle. Very good team. Philadelphia Phillies, there's some issues going on with the Phillies right now because I thought that was a big opportunity, a big series for them against a team that beat them in the ALCS, that had timely hitting and pitching. And Arizona takes 3 of 4, and they scored a bunch of friggin' runs. Now, the Phillies should still win their division. They're 7.5 up on the Atlanta Braves, which I said last week, you don't want the Braves to catch you. But a little bit of panic time now for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's a little bit of panic time for my New York Yankees, even though they finally won a game, because I don't trust the Yankees in the month of September trying to fend off Boston, who's only 7.5 back, who have lost 4 in a row. And I don't believe the Yankees are going to beat the O's to win the AL East. But you got some panic time going on right now in baseball. And this is what makes the pennant races absolutely remarkable. If the Phillies and the Yankees don't make it to their respective AL, NL championship series, I think it's an utter disaster. If the Phillies were to somehow have this monumental collapse and not win a division, which they would really have to choke away this lead against the Mets and the Atlanta Braves, it would be worse than what we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles last season. Because this is a team, this is a team in Philly that went to the NLCS.
Yeah, but it also remember too that when we talked about before the trade deadline, that I did mention a couple of times that we've seen where the Phillies have either started out hot, gotten to the All-Star game, and then you get the drop. And then come September, they're trying now to play catch up to get back to where they were before. So I made it more than the obvious at least 4 different times before the All-Star break because I could see this coming. It's just the way it is. And or you get the polar opposite Phillies where they start out hot, they drop before the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, here they come, making that quick climb, and then they kind of even out, and just before playoff time, we see that slow drop to almost barely make it to the playoffs. So I'm not surprised, although they shouldn't be losing the way they are right now. And of course, all of the super talking heads in Philly are talking about like, oh my God, listen, love my city. Do not get me wrong. People,
they've got issues, man. They've got issues. They can't hit. Their pitching's been friggin' getting rocked, man. The Phillies have issues right now. I mean, they're it's painful to watch. I mean, I'm enjoying it as a Yankees fan. I'm watching this kid, Christopher Sanchez, get friggin' lit up like a friggin' Christmas tree. I mean, Arizona was dominant in that series, Angel. That wasn't even a competitive series.
Correct.
You're talking about a Phillies team from top to bottom. Look at their lineup. Man. I mean, they are stacked. And yet the meat and potatoes of that lineup is doing shit over the last month plus.
That's why I was like that. If I go back to and find that video from last season when they talked about that, it was your third cleanup, fourth, fifth, where you had $330 million combined in those three, and they go friggin' 0 for 5, 0 for 7, something like that. As you're talking, I'll try to find that delicious video, as they like to call it, about the fans leaving out of Citizens Bank Park and their thoughts after that loss.
Listen,
I tossed it back to you. I was just hoping that maybe you come out. No.
Oh no, I don't need to see. I don't give a shit about fans in Philly, bro. Yeah, that's a good toss up. What I was going to say is you're 100% correct. I mean, remember Trey Turner? They were applauding him for getting a friggin' base hit.
Yep.
Trey Turner, they gave a substantial amount of money to Trey Turner. And granted, his numbers, he came on late last season, but right now, 13 home runs. The average is 301. Okay, fine. 16 doubles. He's right around 100 hits. He's done nothing as far as driving and runs. I mean, if he got to 75 this year, it'd be a friggin' miracle. But their issues are bad. July was brutal. The pitching isn't sharp, right? You've got all these key bats, as you mentioned, that have done nothing. I mean, you go back to Arizona, the team that knocked you out of the NLCS, erased your World Series ambitions, right? Just basically woodshed you in just remarkable fashion. I mean, it was an upset of upsets. And here we go. You want to see this team again in October? I want it. I mean, you don't. You think about this. The playoffs do not reseed. So the team with the top record is locked into playing the winner of the 4-5 matchup in the NLDS. So right now, you've got a very hot team in Arizona that's won 16 of 18. They're scoring like 8 runs a game. So you might want to jump on them and lean them going forward as far as their win total when it comes to betting. You got a confident team right now. And they're piling up impressive wins. So now all of a sudden, the Philly schedule has gotten a lot tougher, right? Mm-hmm. And you're looking at the starting rotation, which they were able to hang their hat on. Yeah. You're looking at the heart of the lineup, 3, 4, 5, 6 hitter, right? The hitters. I mean, you've got some issues, man. I mean, Marsh stinks, right? He's still a good value in the outfield, but at the plate, he's a liability. And he's been protected from left-handed pitching because he's brought in a spot to basically feast on righties. But now you can't even hang your hat on that. Turner, hit or miss. Castellanos, hit or miss. Schwarber, feast or famine. Harper, what Harper are you going to get? I mean, this is bad. This is really bad. If there's a great follow out there, Phillies Tailgate, I want to give them credit. They compared the Philly starting rotation March, June, and July and August. So if you look, their ERA, right, early on, all their pitching, 2.73, 3.43, 2.27, 2.41, 5.80. Now, 2.92, 4.8. These are just the pitchers respectively. 6.6, 5.6, 5.2. That's bad, man. That's really bad. You got a 7.5 lead, but again, it's only because the Atlanta Braves can't get out of their own friggin' way. But you keep playing this type of baseball at this clip, and guess what? This team's going to get friggin' bounced.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a disaster. Disaster. Should have solidified the pen a little more. Should have grabbed another bat. It is going to be a disaster. You cannot win in baseball like my Yankees have tried. You can't. You can't be feast or famine. You can't in baseball. You can't be this team that's going to slug 200 and something odd home runs and then expect for that type of power come in October when you're going against really damn good pitching. Right? Scratch and claw, manufacture runs, get on base, play small ball. That's how you win in baseball. And right now, man, they're having some issues. All right, 20 past the 4 o'clock hour. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up, 727-858-6650. I need to see a video of Phillies fan. Get the hell out of here. I'd rather see friggin' paint dry on friggin' 95 in Pinellas Park than see a video of Phillies fans.
It was a good one, though. It was a funny one.
I don't want that nonsense on my screen.
All right. It's okay. Well,
how about this? How about two Chi-Chis passed away? Chi-Chi Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And then Chi-Chi, don't forget the Yayo, Angel Salazar. Little Chi-Chi, Tony Montana's sidekick.
Oh.
You know, Chi-Chi Rodriguez, the Matador.
See.
So.
All right.
Well, watching Chi-Chi Rodriguez. Huh.
I'll find it.
Not a good week for Chi-Chis. All right, 420. No, I don't need to see that video. 424, quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll take you up to 5.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
You want the best in sports and entertainment? You got it. Now back to
what?
and cut it off. It was about to loop by itself.
Ty chimes in. Q, love the show as always. Income sensitivity training for your Boston Red Sox. Yeah, that's a possibility. Zeus chimes in. Q, honestly, who gives a rap? Well, I can't really read that one, but I like the name Zeus, Thunder God. All right, there we go. Oh man, you knew the hits were going to keep on coming with this. So I wanted to now, Angel. You watched the Olympics. You were glued to the Olympics. You had money on the Olympics. You were betting coins, shekels, toman, euros, pesos. You were all over the place with the Olympics. Closing ceremonies, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible. Here we go. I say all that because Angel's been obsessed with the Olympics. So I texted him when I was on the road and I said, hey, what's the score of the men's basketball game? I won't read his reply out on the air, but obviously he didn't watch. Now, it's so funny. My friend was like, hammer that, take the 16.5, hammer, back your play, hammer it. And of course, U.S. wins by, I think, 11 or 12. But Stephen Curry went off. And I'm thinking to myself, why are people so shocked? Like, he makes every friggin' shot on the floor. Like, he's an all-time great. It would have been a disaster if they didn't win the gold medal. I don't care about, Embiid or Tatum or all this nonsense. But here's the funny stuff. The talk now is that, and again, this is what you hear from talking heads. Well, let me say this about Curry. Go back and watch the final couple moments of that game against France. Because you're talking about, see, this is the beauty of when you're an all-time great. And we talk about pressure and how to overcome pressure, right? The athletes that thrive in pressure moments. Some do, some don't. Some rise to the challenge, some kind of wilt under the bright lights. Curry knocks down 4 straight threes. He had a pull-up 3, sealed the win, right? And kind of the night-night celebration. But this is who he is. I mean, I know he struggled early on, but he's a player that when you need the bucket, when you need the juice, when you need the player to rise to the challenge, he does it. And there are few that have done it over the last 15, 20 plus years in the NBA. My knock on LeBron for so long was that LeBron James was not a clutch player. LeBron James shied away from the big shot. Now, people will look at LeBron James, and when you kind of go back and revisit his career, LeBron James running down Iguodala, pinning the ball, blocking it, that's going to be the signature moment in his career. You're down 3-1 against the can't-be-beaten Golden State Warriors, and also because of Kyrie, you rip off 3 straight, you win in 7, and boom, you bring a title to Cleveland. But a guy like Curry has always been that guy. But I found it interesting that I already heard some of these debate shows, which you know how I feel about them, talking about LeBron James now surpassing Michael Jordan. Why? Because he won a gold medal? Correct me if I'm wrong. What happened in 1992?
Yeah.
I just think it's just ludicrous. I want to get into a couple of tweets and a couple of Facebook messages. Scotty A in New York chimes in. Q, really good baseball talk, and I agree. It is panic mode for a couple teams. I'm not going to put the Phillies there just yet. They've been there before. They know how to win in October. But go back and go on X, and you can hear Nesson picked up the hot mic. So it was Nesson, NESN, that airs the Boston games, that obviously the hot mic that picked up the slur. Okay, but appreciate you tuning in, and appreciate the kind words as well. So yeah, I'm not ready to start to coronate players based on winning a gold medal. I'm really not. I mean, I still believe, And again, I get it. It's August. We're gearing up pennant races. We're looking at NFL. But just because these players had a good run in the Olympics and they won a gold medal, let's not start to say they're better than some of the other all-time greats, right? I know it's kind of the lazy debate when people start to say, Brady or Montana, LeBron or Michael Jordan. I have to step in and push back when you hear people say, well, now you can put LeBron as the greatest of all time because, again, here we go, right? A gold medal, another gold, whatever. I think that's just goofy talk. I mean, the NBA 20, 30 years ago is not like the NBA now. And think about this too. In the Olympics, it's not like in hockey, right? Let's have the 80 squad beat the Soviets with a bunch of 19, 20-year-old college kids. I mean, if you put college players on the U.S. men's basketball team, would they have won? Would they have won the gold medal?
Maybe not.
It's kind of my point. Like, I feel as though if the NBA is supposed to sprout out the best players in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why are we acting surprised that they won another gold medal? Like if I'm assembling a squad of the best players in the world and 12 of them play in the NBA, then I expect you to win the gold medal. That doesn't elevate you to another level. Does that make sense?
Yep. But it's also there. You got to remember too. There's a very short life when it comes to the NBA because you're like right now. They're what cracked me up. But the first thing that I saw, like the closing ceremonies aren't even done, and they're already talking about 4 years from now. What's our take coming up with the NBA? But listen, that's 4 years from now. Things could change, but there's also a very short shelf life left for NBA players and the Olympics. I'm not even going to get into that whole breakdancing fiasco pop lock thing, which is absolutely ridiculous and should not be in the Olympics either.
So please tell me you saw the video.
No.
Hold on. Let me finish because you might have to pull this up. Please tell me you saw the video when they had Peter Griffin voice over it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's still one of the.
Exactly. They also had one perfectly in sync with Seinfeld.
I saw that one too. I mean, listen, if that's what it takes to make the squad, here we go.
But you're also a self-proclaimed breakdancing instructor, which I don't freaking understand. How? Anyways.
Let me see if I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this. So if you can't, this is, let me play it from here. This is Jason Duran addressing the media. This was about an hour ago. So bear with me for a minute.
Radio silence.
Can you hear it?
No, senor.
Oh, you can't?
No, it was radio silence. Unless you share, you might have to do a share screen type deal thing.
That's a bad job. I mean, he's apologizing. So I can encapsulate it for you. Joey B, I think Q and Angel need to introduce tomorrow's show as they spin on their backs and heads cardboard. So I had the cardboard. I'll do you one better. Stop it. I would be no. Hold on a second. Oh no, put that back up there. Is right. Joey saying I would be the underdog in the cardboard spin?
I think so.
No. No, sorry.
That's a challenge,
bro. You would put me at minus 125 on the cardboard spin. Uh-oh, what do we got here? Because I can never see. Oh, there it is. We got a video. What are we doing here? There's no robot. There's nothing.
There's nothing.
No, there's no creativity. I mean, by the way, there's no, yeah. I don't like. Listen, we got to get a book in here to set those odds. Absolutely. Remember I think I brought this up too. Remember we used to call them the New Yorkers, the fat laces.
Yeah.
You never tied them. You just let them hang free.
Correct.
And if you tripped over them, so be it. But you had to wear them in style. Yeah. I was all about the core board, all about the boom box, little bandana.
Mhm.
Sure. Breaking 2, electric boogaloo.
Yep.
No, I do not. Once in a while, maybe on a Saturday night. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe on a Saturday night, 727-858-6650. Yeah, but I don't need the Olympics to, again, tell me what I already know about NBA players. But now this thought, and listen, I mentioned it to you. If you stuck college players, are they winning the gold medal? And if you believe they don't, then it's almost expected for these NBA players to win the gold medal all the time, right? In these sports, especially in basketball, because the NBA preaches, they push, they market as these are the greatest players in the world. All right. But I'm not going to sit here and, hey, congratulations. I think that's awesome. You know, U.S. did extremely well. Gymnastics, swimming, everything. Now, did they overturn? Didn't they strip one of the gymnasts?
Yeah, they stripped her from the bronze because it was a minute after where you can make the arbitration, so they end up stripping it from her anyways.
So I had a lot of people ask me this a week ago about Iman Khalif, who filed a complaint because they know I'm a boxing guy, they know I call the fights over the abuse over gender. Let me say this. I would not, the fighter from Italy, you're not going to step in the ring. You're not going to take that fight. You're not. And I know everyone has been dissecting this and talking about this person's background and transform and all this other stuff. There has to be a precedent in place when it comes to this. There has to, because it just, there was a competitive advantage. And that's the problem. And I think, you kind of saw where were you going with this Olympics with certain things. And I know, the fighter faced scrutiny, right? From, again, everyone was kind of coming out on social media and this and that. And, I'm not going to, what you do with your body, you do with your body. I would not have liked to have saw the Italian fighter step in the ring. And I just think it was, man, it's a bad look. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that, to be quite honest with you. Because I know what happens in something like this. We talked about the baseball player turning around and saying what he said. Well, you already can, again, imagine, the hate and the firestorm. That's why half the time I stay off social. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. It's unfortunate, but
yeah, but there's certain things everybody knows. You shouldn't listen. Put the men with the men, the women with the women. I'll say if no one else wants to say it. That's the way you keep it. A woman, the woman punch, and not saying I don't want.
You can't compare the two, man. I know for a fact you cannot. Right. That's when I hear Clarissa Shields saying she wants to step in the ring with a male fighter. You have absolutely no idea what you're going up against when you're talking about a male fighter at 165, 175, throwing a right hand and you getting caught. I've seen the damage done. I've seen guys get knocked out. I mean, I don't like to bring it up, but I was on the call, Team Combat League, where the fighter from Miami knocked out the fighter from Orlando, and the kid got concussed, fell in a coma, and passed away. And you're talking heavyweights. So to compare that is just You just can't. You just can't. You can't. You can't. You can't. Um, and that's just my take on that. I mean,
You can't.
yeah.
There's, it's not, how many, okay, how is it, this is where the catch-22 comes in. Okay, so the Olympic Committee decided it was okay that a man who wanted to think that he was a woman to go into a ring with a woman, right? But how much do we condone the violence when a man hits a woman? So how in the world do you even allow for this to happen? You know he's a man. You can disguise it, change it, put lipstick on it. It's a man. Period.
It's a gender controversy, and what you have to be careful what you're doing right now. But I understand what you're doing. When we get into the danger of speculation, right? The danger of speculation, and point being, you had the fighter from Algeria, and then I think Taiwan's fighter. They were approved by the IOC to participate in the Olympics. They were earlier disqualified from the 2023 WBC World Boxing Championships due to gender eligibility test implemented by, follow along, the IBA, I think it is, the International Boxing Association. And that's the ongoing conflict between the IOC and the IBA. And the IOC has had a great deal of criticism, Angel, recently, and they refuse to recognize the IBA due to prior allegations of fixing bouts, fixing matching, as well as poor governing of the sport. Right? Basically, they're saying you can't be trusted. Okay, you can't be trusted. Now, those two fighters that I mentioned, there was a substantial amount of slander and defamation on social media, and we know social media is a cesspool. But you just knew that Italian boxer was not going to beat this fighter, right? And that's, you start to get in this, the results of the gender test being revealed, and it becomes very problematic. To be honest, it becomes very problematic, right? Because there have been female athletes along the way, but it seems as though, are we disguising them? If they're trying, if they're making that transformation to men, then if you're saying they're a man, or if they're a man and they're trying to make the transition to a woman and they're still a man per se, that's where the confusion comes. Or disguised as a woman, then you should not be able to get in the ring. That's all I'm saying. And I just think, without getting too far down the foxhole, the rabbit hole with it, I think the Olympics will be remembered. I think it's a story that's not going to go away, and people will remember these Olympics for that. I mean, I didn't watch like you did, but it just seemed as though it was a cluster. You had athletes getting sick, right? You had the issue not swimming in the water. It came off. You had a lot of controversy.
Yeah, including the opening ceremonies, which as soon as it was over, 9 major sponsors pulled.
Really?
Yeah, pulled from it. And that's not even the fallout. The fallout still continues from that one. I mean, it's just, listen, there's certain things in this world, in this society, what you want to be, to each his own, right? Your body, your choice. Just like we heard when it comes to the vaccination. But it comes to a point too, when you are trying to constantly push things down people's throats, everybody's going to get to the point like, all right, listen, enough's enough, right? It was in the very beginning, we understood it and everything else, but it gets to a point where, and before you guys come out with, oh my God, he hates this. I don't hate anything. There isn't in this life that I hate, maybe other than mushrooms. I can't stand them. But anyways, but my thing is that if you have, for example, the one male swimmer couldn't beat the men, right? Decided that now he wants to go ahead and identify as a woman. Didn't change, didn't do anything, just want to identify as a woman. Beat a woman in the pool. What's he walking around with now? Back as a man.
Yeah, and I think, is it fair to say, yet to be seen how we will remember these Olympic Games?
Yep.
I mean,
A lot of it's an absolute joke, honest to God. And everybody knows anyways, the freaking IOC is they've been so corrupt for so many years. That's why every year is one controversy after next. I mean, I just, it's going to get to the point. This was not the highest rated Olympics, which they thought they were after the COVID one, which obviously no one could participate because, and more than the obvious reason, because of that. But they thought, man, it's going to be, now they put out numbers that made it seem like this was the best Olympics ever. No, it wasn't. There was a huge loss.
Now it's a huge loss. Yeah, it is yet to be seen how we're going to remember these Olympics. And it's a shame. You know why? Because of the athletes who poured their heart into this.
Yep. Yippers. Now, Joey B made a couple of good ones here because he said the 3-on-3 BMX competition. I did like that one. I thought that was pretty cool as well. 3-on-3 trampoline, artistic gymnastics, breakdancing should be eliminated from the Olympics. I would agree. The 3-on-3, I don't think it was that great, truthfully. Same thing with the trampoline. I didn't get that. That was just beyond ridiculous.
Wait, they had a trampoline?
See.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's stuff in there that made no sense. Now, the cycling, the velodrome competition, that was insane.
You know what they should have? They should have thumb wars as an Olympic game.
Or if you're going to go that route, why not then go to slap boxing?
It reminds me of the National Lampoon when he went to Vegas.
Yeah.
And he was trying to digging up money in Eddie's backyard, and they went to like the smaller, off the reservation per se casinos, and they had a war. And then guess how many fingers I'm holding? Horrible. Tiff on Facebook chimes in. Q, really loving the show and your style. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know how I'm going to remember these Olympics. I was a gymnast for 15 plus years, and I think it was a disgrace, the opening ceremonies, and as you mentioned, what transpired in the fight game. Everyone's got their opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion. It's not right, not wrong, not indifferent. I mean, everyone has their opinion. That's what makes this country great. And people looked at the opening ceremony, whether they misconstrued it,
Uh-oh. Something happened to your volume, senor. You're going to have to refresh. The volume will go by. I don't know what happened. It's that, you know what it is? Time out. Exactly. 4:48 in the afternoon here. We're going to do a little quick refresh. As Joey B says, Q with thumbs, wrestling take. Yeah, it would be funny, but we'll wait for, he's going to pop in about 3, 2, 1 here. So he'll be right back. Or maybe not here he comes. There he is.
What I was going to say is, I don't know if you heard what I was reading. The Tiff on Facebook chimed in, gymnast for about 15 plus years. And again, kind of echoed your sentiments. Greg chimes in, Q, loving the show, watching it from the DMV. I saw you called the fights in DC 2 weeks ago. Well done. I actually disagree with you on the boxing thing. I think boxing has a bigger problem than what we just saw in the Olympics. Yeah. You're comparing apples and oranges, brother. But if I saw you out on Saturday in DC and you stopped over and said hello, hopefully I said hello back. If I didn't, I'm sure I will get called out for that. But yeah, no, I'm not. That's apples and oranges, man. That is friggin' apples and oranges when we start to go that route. And listen, the sport has a lot of crap that's going on. But I just think you feel bad for the athletes that put so much into it. And again, the U.S. is a country that should always be great when it comes to the Olympics. And that's one of the reasons. What they have, 126 medals. Them and China both had 40 gold, right? I mean, the U.S. is extremely strong when we're talking sports, when we're talking the Olympics, period. Do you ever think MMA will make an Olympic debut? You never know. I mean, Angel mentioned slap fighting. You might get BYB bare knuckle. I mean, if we friggin' saw thumb war and we saw friggin' breakdancing, right?
Right. But I want to go back though for Tiff, who made the comment on Facebook.
Tiff.
You take someone like that, an athlete, about 15 years ago?
Yeah.
That's okay. Here's my only kind of pet peeve when it comes to it. All right, now all these athletes, these men and women who put their heart and soul into everything, they want to do the best job they possibly can. So when they're on that world spotlight, right? When they win, yeah, they're world champions because they're on the world spotlight. Where I have a problem is, and listen, I know there's a lot of NBA fans. Love the NBA because, it's fun. It's a good product. But you're taking away from college athletes that have the opportunity to showcase their talents out there. But because we're dying to win gold in basketball and men and women, you put the NBA in there and the WNBA. Why can't we go back to when, to me, you can't tell me you can't find a super talented squad of college athletes that can compete with the people from the European countries to be able to defend the gold. Because again, the shelf life that's going to come down to the Olympics with the NBA players is very, very slim.
Well, you're talking basketball now, right? If we're talking one isolated sport, well, a couple things. There's a reason that a lot of fighters who are amateurs and have very good amateur records, Golden Gloves, Silver Gloves, Olympic trials, nationals. There's a reason a lot of them go pro because of this. A gold medal, if you're De La Hoya, a gold medal jettison you, put you on that platform, right? His mother passed. He won it for his mother. Here you go. The heart of a Mexican. Boom, boom, boom. Right? It worked. It worked. The Golden Boy. Right? 1992, Barcelona, Oscar De La Hoya. A lot of these fighters want to turn pro because of the pay. Now, to your point with college, but what do we have now that we never had 10, 15 years ago in college? We have NIL. So these players are going to make bank as well. I think that's why I asked a question before. If you stuck college players out there and they played these other countries in, say, basketball or soccer or baseball, or they swam against them or ran track and field against them, are they going to be as successful? I don't know. I mean, 72, everyone knows the U.S. got robbed when Doug Collins was, the horrible foul late, and everyone knows they didn't want to, ever accept the medal. And then we saw the Dream Team, which was a glorified scrimmage. It was a laughingstock, that Olympic. They were beating teams by 30, 40, 50 something odd points. I mean, imagine we were betting on those games back then. It wasn't even competitive. It's just not. I think if it depends on the sport. I mean, would college kids be able to beat a seasoned France team or a seasoned Spain team? I don't know. Joey chimes in, bring Team USA baseball back to the Olympics, have all-stars of college type of team. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, you bring up a really interesting point, but from my perspective on the fight game, a lot of times these amateurs, they want to have an opportunity to fight for their country, represent the U.S., but they also know, well, if I go amateur, I can't accept any money. So I want to go pro so I can get a payday. I can't fault them for that.
Oh, I can't either, but at the same time, like, to me, I'm sorry. That's the reason why all these world athletes compete 4 years, right? They'll go home, they'll take about a month off. And some of them even said the most they take is like 2 weeks off. They go back because they want to get back into their time zone. They want to relax, spend time with the family because they've been training all this time. Then they get right back at it because they're looking at 2028 now.
There's no rest for the weary, man.
Correct.
But that's what they choose. And you're right. I mean, gymnasts, right? They say they're, 20-year-old, 19-year-old. You're peaking 15, 16, 17. So you have that window of opportunity. You don't have to say that with soccer or basketball.
Right.
You don't. I mean, you got guys 36, 37, 38. Look at some of these European players, right? And they've been playing for years. When the USA, in 80, in the Winter Olympics, when they beat Russia, the Soviet Union, USSR, that team played together for 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
They knew every move every teammate was going to make. And what did they do? They stuck college kids out there and they pulled up the upset of all upsets. But we're way past that time, man. We're way past that time. Period. We are way past that time. And because now you got the NIL in college too. I mean, if you can make $1 million, if you're a good-looking guy or good-looking girl, decent in athletics, and you're in the right college at the right place at the right time, and you can make $1 million, no one really is going to care if you're not a all conference, right? That's the way I look at it. 5 new sports are coming 2028. Baseball, softball, lacrosse, cricket, flag football. I did see that. I saw flag football is going to be big, squash as well. So I just, as I alluded to, I don't know why we put a lot of these athletes on the pedestal when this is what we expect of them. And when it comes to basketball, we expect USA to win the gold medal. Anything less is a disappointment.
Do you get an NIL deal at OYU? Or no, excuse me, OFU?
I believe you went to OFU.
No, but because you were talking about a university, of course, we got to end it on a funny note here. But for OnlyFans University, can you get to an?
Oh no, I would have to. I'd probably they would definitely make me pay tuition. Yeah. I'm not even getting my books taken care of, right? You know, those dollar store notepads. Why?
Exactly. There is a funny fan though, or funny video. I'll see if I can find it for Wednesday's show. But
nice.
The one kid, God bless him, because his sister is looking at him like, he goes, no, you don't understand. Like, she made $1,000 on OnlyFans. I mean, she sold fans and she got $1,000. And the sister's looking like, do you not understand where it's? But it was. Yeah. You got to see the video.
Not understand what I do. Do not tell mom and dad. All right. Wrapping it up on a Monday edition of The Drive. Don't forget, check out the programming on SR 102.9 FM, The Game. Of course, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Pete Shepard, 7 to 10 Monday to Friday. Martinez and Company, 10 to 12. Myself, The Drive with Q, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3 to 5. You got Lloyd Vance, who should be on tonight. Lloyd Vance is Insider Football, which is really a very interesting show. Does a lot of good content with the NFL. You got Talking Hoops Wednesday at 8, Marshall Time Podcast, Jonathan Marshall, Joshua Marshall. You had that. You got Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. And don't forget to download the app, Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. I love going on the site. We got the huge window of video, which is awesome. Appreciate everyone keeping us locked in. Great eyeballs today on X across all the platforms and our YouTube channel. As always, Angel Martinez, Behind the Glass producing show, keeping us on the air. Wednesday, we're going to see if we can track down the aforementioned Jovan Alford. Also, Steve Gardner on baseball. Want to see if we can get Lloyd in NFL preseason week 2. I'll give you some picks. I'll give you some plays. And we'll start to dive into some storylines. The NFL season kicks off. I mean, it's just amazing. Summer is pretty much kaputski. We wave goodbye to that. And then we've got the NFL. We've got the stretch run in baseball. And I think we have very competitive races. I'll tweet out some plays on Wednesday's show as well. Don't forget, you can follow us on X. And it's really important, not only that you follow us on X, Twitter, if you will, Coastal Sports Network at CSN Florida. That should be very easy for you guys to remember. You can follow Angel at SR 102.9 The Game. That is also very easy to remember. Pete Shepard at Pete Shep, SHEP 326. Lloyd at Lloyd Vance. Jonathan _ Marshall as well. So you got some really good programming out there. We appreciate the feedback. Numbers were absolutely phenomenal for today's Monday edition of The Drive. Keep them coming. Tell your friends. Share, like, comment. We love you anyway. Even if we agree to disagree, always download the app. And Gas Pump Guy, I just don't like that they're taking out boxing and adding a bunch of crap sports. Just my opinion. As he chimes in late at the top of the hour and he gets out with the last word. Yes, thumb wrestling, breakdancing, maybe not the ones that we really want to get used to. I can't believe that. There was thumb wrestling. That would be hilarious. How about a little arm wrestling, like over the top? Yeah. 1987, Sylvester Stallone. Remember when he has the hat?
Yep.
Hat around. Like I feel like a truck. How about that? That is an underrated soundtrack, by the way. Oh,
it is.
You know who's in that movie? Frank Lopez from Scarface.
Oh yeah, that's right.
La Roja. All right, got to start wrapping it up. Fast approaching the 5 o'clock hour. We have been powered by Coastal Sports Network and, of course, ION TV. For Angel Martinez, I'm Rich Quinones. Have a wonderful Sports Monday. Back in the saddle Wednesday, 3 to 5 with The Drive with Q. Until then, we'll talk to you as always. And we won't say hasta luego, buen dia, but we will say buen dia. Talk to you Wednesday at 3.